Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. This is Feel Stronger After Birth Than Before Pregnancy, the missing map every woman deserves. Now, whether you're pregnant, postpartum, or thinking about your hormones after 35, this space is for you. I created this masterclass because I wish I'd had it myself. My journey has been one of depletion, rebuilding, and finally thriving. And I don't want you to learn the hard way like I did. So let's dive in. Now, here's the truth. Most women are being set up to fail. We are fed outdated, fear-based advice about pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause. Advice that leaves us confused, depleted, and wondering if our best years are already behind us. And the same system that tells us it's normal to feel exhausted, hormonal, or anxious never actually gives us the tools to feel better. But what if much of what you've been told about pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause is wrong? What if these seasons aren't a slow decline at all, but a continuum that can actually make you stronger when you know how to nourish yourself properly? I'm Glenda Garcia, registered dietitian with nearly 20 years experience, and I'm also 44 years old, currently in my third trimester with baby number 3. Now, I've had 3 pregnancies after 35. My first one at 37 left me depleted for years. My second at 41 was revolutionary and transformed how I saw postpartum recovery. And now at 44, I'm navigating pregnancy again, and this time standing firm against the systemic gaps and fear-based care. And here's what I want you to know. You are not too old. You're not broken, and your best health years are not behind you. In this masterclass, I'm going to share what I've learned from 3 very different pregnancies, the systemic gaps that fail women, even professionals like me, the 3 biggest myths that keep women stuck and depleted, and a simple framework that you can start to use today to feel nourished in any stage of womanhood. And here's what I want you to leave with today. Pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause are not separate. They are a continuum. And when you nourish one, you thrive in the next. So if you've ever felt exhausted, dismissed, or like your body is working against you, you're not broken. You've just been underserved. And today, we begin to change that. Now, let me take you back to my first pregnancy. This is when I was 36, and I actually gave birth when I was 37. And at that time, I thought that I was healthy. I had been plant-based for almost a decade. So this was based on my yoga practice and the culture that was around me at the time, where it was promoted as the gold standard. And in the beginning, I really did feel better being plant-based. Now, even with my training as a dietitian, what I wasn't realizing was that I was not actually paying attention to the nutrients that my body was missing. And by my early 30s, I already had subtle signs of depletion and hormone changes, but I didn't connect them back to my nutrition. Now, about a year before getting pregnant that first time, a naturopath had me add fish and eggs back into my diet. And looking back, I do believe that that may have been what helped make my first pregnancy possible, because I actually conceived quite quickly, even though I was still mostly plant-based. But very early in that pregnancy, my body made it clear that something was missing. And I developed anemia pretty fast. And I began to have outrageous cravings. I mean, I was dreaming about eating chicken, vivid dreams where I could actually taste it. And during the worst of my nausea in that first trimester, chicken was actually the only thing that I could keep down. Now, I did feel like I was betraying myself. I mean, I built this whole identity around being plant-based, and my body was literally dreaming about chicken. So it was actually very humbling. I remember standing at the grocery store looking at the rotisserie chickens and thinking, how much I felt like I was giving up on who I was. But my body was smart. And when I finally gave myself permission to eat what I was craving, it was like my whole system exhaled with relief. Now, even with those changes, I really do believe that I had started pregnancy depleted. My nutrient stores, my hormones, my energy systems, they were already running on empty. When labor came, it was long and I managed okay, but the real challenge came afterwards when I had to deal with a severe 3rd-degree tear that made my recovery brutal. Postpartum was really hard. I mean, I thought that I could just bounce back. And 3 days after birth, I pushed myself to go outside. And I really think that I made things worse. I had not planned. I did not have the support, the nourishment, or the care I needed for that postpartum. In my mind, the birth had been the finish line. I remember feeling like a shell of myself, going through the motions of motherhood, but feeling quite disconnected from my body. I remember crying while my daughter napped because I was so exhausted that I could barely think straight. And about a year and a half later, I actually developed an autoimmune flare. Now, deep down, I knew that this was postpartum depletion. I had ignored my body's signals and I trusted the system's minimum guidelines, and I was paying the price. So, here's what I wish that I would have known back then. Pregnancy is not just about keeping your baby healthy. It's actually about protecting your long term health too. Your nutrient needs don't just increase a little bit in pregnancy, they skyrocket in quality, not calories. So every bite begins to count more than ever. Now, even as a registered dietitian, I was undertrained for pregnancy and postpartum. I had to do my own research prompted by my own experience. And if I wasn't taught this, most professionals out there are also not prepared to give women what they truly need in this period of life. So, if you take nothing else from this, remember in pregnancy and at every stage of womanhood, we need to prioritize nutrient density over calories. That first pregnancy, it really did teach me a hard lesson. What you do in pregnancy echoes into your postpartum, and your postpartum echoes into your future health. And by the time that I got pregnant again, I had learned my lesson and I was determined to do it differently. So after that first postpartum, about a year and a half in, as I mentioned, I hit a wall. I developed an autoimmune flare that was diagnosed as psoriasis, and I'd never experienced anything like it. I remember thinking that I could barely recognize myself in the mirror. I had rashes all over my body. My hair fell out. It was extremely painful, and emotionally, it took a huge toll on me. It literally forced me to stop everything. I had to take a medical leave from my job. I ended up staying home to take care of my daughter, and during that time, I really hunkered down to reevaluate my purpose. I realized that a lot of my life was misaligned with who I wanted to be. Now, looking back, that season became about rebuilding and not just my body, but my entire life. I did work on restoring nutrients. I healed my hormones, I supported my gut and my adrenals, and I rebuilt the terrain that first pregnancy had left so depleted. On the nutrition side, I really went deep. I researched so much and I began to understand the true demands of pregnancy and postpartum and how supporting these phases or not supporting them can actually impact the years ahead. Now, I was also entering perimenopause, and I made a promise to myself that this would not be a steep decline. Because here's what most women don't realize: perimenopause symptoms aren't inevitable aging. They're often the result of nutrient depletion from pregnancy and postpartum that was never replenished. Now, when I rebuilt my terrain after that autoimmune flare, it wasn't just because I wanted to heal. I actually was preparing for perimenopause as well. And at 44, I can tell you that I'm very glad I did that work. Replenishing my minerals, supporting my detox pathways, and reducing my stress were game changers. At that time, when I was rebuilding that terrain, I used functional testing and strategic supplementation alongside healing foods, including those animal products that I resisted so much, and everything changed for me. Rebuilding wasn't just physical, it was also emotional and spiritual. I mean, I really did have to ask those core questions about, you know, what was it that was driving my life? What were the external expectations? What were the things that I was denying myself? How was I not connected with who I wanted to be? And that journey gave me new confidence and deeper intuition. It made me more willing to take scary but very aligned steps because I just trusted myself more. So, as a family, my husband and I made huge life changes. We even left the country to follow our passions and explore our dreams for a while. And it was quite radical, but very healing. And all of that, the nutrition, the labs, the supplement, the lifestyle, it was all rebuilding. It was years of saying yes to true nourishment, and it laid the foundation that allowed me to conceive again when I actually thought that we might remain a one child family. So when I conceived at 40 and gave birth at 41, I actually felt more prepared than I had in my 30s. That pregnancy was so smooth. I had an empowered birth with an incredible support team that I think really did make the difference. And my postpartum, because I prepared, was night and day different from the first. And I can actually say that it was so radically better that I could actually not believe it. And I felt like I was healing from that first birth and that first postpartum. It was like my whole body and my spirit had been given a second chance. Now, from the moment that I gave birth, I felt energized that second time. And I really could have done so much. I felt like I could have done so much more. But this time, I didn't because I knew the power of rest. And I decided instead to honor the traditional 40 days of postpartum rest. Sometimes it's called the 40-day quarantine. And now that might sound really unproductive, and it wasn't always easy to dedicate that much time to healing, but I knew that it would matter. Within that, I also followed what's known as the 555 rules, or the 555 rule, which is 5 days in bed, 5 days on the bed, and 5 days around the bed. And that's the first 15 days postpartum. You literally stay in bed for the first five. You're nursing, you're sleeping, you're bonding. The next five, you maybe get up to have a shower, you walk around the bed, you move a little bit. And then finally, the last five, you start to move a little bit further away from your bed, but you still prioritize rest. Now, this sounds like laziness, but it's not. It's actually strategic healing. Lying in bed with my baby skin to skin, sipping on broth that someone else had made for me, I could actually feel my body putting itself back together. And it felt so good to have that permission to actually just rest. There was no guilt and no pressure to bounce back. And my husband and I had planned for this. We had planned for this way before the birth. We'd invested money and time and research into getting the support we needed because we knew that it would be worth it. And it was. I mean, my postpartum bleeding was so much shorter than the first time around. And to my amazement, the pelvic floor issues that I had experienced after my first birth resolved. I couldn't believe it. My energy, my mood, they were bright and stable. I felt really hopeful. And this time I could enjoy my baby the way that I hadn't the first time. I felt like my skin was glowing, my hair didn't fall out. And emotionally, I connected. I connected to my husband and my daughter and to myself and to the baby, the new baby. Now, that postpartum didn't just feel less hard than my first, it felt radically better. And it felt like after birth, I was stronger and more whole, and I just felt even better than before pregnancy. So that proves something to me. It proves something very powerful that when you intentionally nourish pregnancy and prepare for postpartum, those stages of life don't have to deplete you. They can actually build you up better than before. Now, can you imagine postpartum feeling better than before pregnancy? And that is possible. And it's actually what I want every woman to know. Now, today, now I'm in my third trimester with baby number three, and I'm 44 years old. And this pregnancy has been healthy, but I've faced a new kind of challenge this time, and that's the medical system itself. From the very beginning of this pregnancy, I have been labeled advanced maternal age, high risk, sometimes even geriatric. I mean, every prenatal appointment disappoints me. The fear mongering is relentless. It's as if because I'm past 35, my body is broken. But I know better. And I also know how to trust my body. I know the work that I've done. And I've also learned to advocate for myself and to find the care that supports my values, not just the system's fears. Because our bodies are not on a strict timeline. We are not broken after 35. What actually matters is your foundation, your terrain. And this is your reserves, your resiliency, the foundation. This is what gives me the confidence to push back against the geriatric label at 44. And it's why I can stand here today thriving. This isn't just about pregnancy. Postpartum women are told that exhaustion, anxiety, and brain fog are normal. Perimenopausal women, they're told that hot flashes and mood swings are just part of aging. It's different seasons, but it's the same story. The system just writes us off instead of showing us how to rebuild. But the truth is, you need to know how to nourish yourself in order to stand up for your choices because the system is not going to do it for you. And this is what I want you to actually take from my story. It isn't just about me. It's about the systemic gaps that leave women unsupported and depleted at every stage of life. Now, I want you to think about something here before I move on. If I, a registered dietitian with nearly 20 years of experience, have had to learn this the hard way, what does that say about the system that we're navigating? Because my story is not unique. I mean, I hear versions of it from women every single day. And this is smart, educated women doing everything right who still end up depleted, anxious, or confused about why their body feels broken. I mean, I see women spend their first year so exhausted that they can't be present with their baby, battling postpartum anxiety that could have actually been prevented. And that was actually me. I mean, I was so depleted after my first pregnancy that I felt like I was watching my daughter's early months through a fog. I also see women who enter perimenopause blindsided, with hot flashes, mood swings, weight changes, feeling like a stranger in their own skin. And what they don't realize is that that decline very likely began years earlier with nutrient depletion that was never addressed. Now, this is not your fault. It's not my fault. This is a system that's failing women. If I, a dietitian, wasn't taught what I truly needed for pregnancy and postpartum, how can we expect the average woman to know? Maternal care doesn't connect the dots between pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause. It really is set up to keep you and baby alive, but it doesn't actually prioritize how you're going to feel afterwards. For example, prenatals and even nutrition guidelines, they're often based on outdated data. Pregnant women often need far more nutrients, for example, choline and DHA, than prenatals provide. These are nutrients that not only build your baby's brain, but actually protect your own brain and your own hormones postpartum. Nobody ever told me that in my first pregnancy. And most women will never hear it, or they might only hear it until it's too late. Your symptoms are not failures, they are signals, and you deserve care that listens. And the gaps in care, they don't just leave us unsupported, they actually create lies that keep women small and scared. Lies that are repeated so often about how everything is a decline, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause. We begin to believe them. We begin to believe these lies. So I just want to call them out and I want to bust some myths for you. So let's start with number one. There are three that we're going to talk about, but number one, pregnancy after 35 is automatically high risk. And I can laugh about this one because the truth is your age alone doesn't determine high risk. It's your health. It's your hormones. It's the nourishment that you've had. These are the things that matter most. I had my second baby at 41, and that birth was amazing. That postpartum was amazing. And now at 44, I'm pregnant again. I'm healthy, I'm vibrant, I'm strong, and I'm thriving. Myth number two, your prenatal vitamin and the basic guidelines are enough. The truth is, it takes about 15 to 20 years of research to become policy. Guidelines are decades behind, and prenatals are designed to meet the minimum requirements. They don't help you thrive, right? Your nutrition is kind of like the house. The prenatal is the insurance policy. But without the walls and the roof, you just have an insurance policy. You're left completely exposed. And if you think that prenatal or pregnancy guidelines are behind, perimenopause is even worse. Women are told that hot flashes, mood swings, and brain fog are normal aging. But research actually shows that much of this can be prevented or improved with nutrition and lifestyle. Now, how long is it going to be until that research actually reaches your doctor's office? Probably another decade or two. And meanwhile, we're all here suffering unnecessarily. Myth number three, postpartum depletion and perimenopause suffering are inevitable. The truth is that they're not. The way that we care for ourselves in our early life, in pregnancy, in postpartum, they directly shape how we will experience perimenopause and the years ahead. And here's the bigger truth about all of this. It's not just about one season. Pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause are linked. What you do in one shapes the next. It's not just your age that matters. It's actually your foundation, your terrain. Your terrain is your nutrient reserves, your hormone balance, your gut health, your adrenals, your ability to handle stress. These are the things that determine fertility, postpartum recovery, and whether perimenopause feels like a slow unraveling or whether you can turn it into a powerful new chapter. And luckily, science is starting to catch up. So, as an example, new research shows that a woman's eggs can be up to 17 times more protected from aging than other cells in her body. Your eggs are resilient. So when they tell us that fertility or pregnancy after 35 are impossible or are high risk, this is not true. What matters is the environment around them. And I'll just interject something in here because we don't want to forget that both fertility and conception also depend on sperm and paternal health. That matters too. So, women, this is not all on you. Now, after my first postpartum, if you'll remember, I worked really hard to repair, but I didn't just treat the symptoms. I rebuilt that terrain. And because I rebuilt it, my second pregnancy and postpartum were completely different. So please don't let anybody tell you that it's only about age. Whether you're 25 or 45, the foundation, your terrain, it's what determines how you will thrive. But the truth is that you can't rebuild that overnight. And each season actually has a golden window that you don't want to miss. In pregnancy, the second trimester is when reserves can still be built before your demands skyrocket in the third trimester. In postpartum, those first 40 days after birth are the most powerful healing window that you will ever have. And in perimenopause, your window is right now, wherever you are, because hormones shift dramatically. Now, I missed my golden window that first pregnancy, and I paid for it. And I really don't want that for you, no matter what stage you're in. So that's a lot. And you might be wondering, what can you actually do with all of that information? Now, after 3 pregnancies and 2 very different postpartum experiences and years of digging into the research that most women are never taught, I've learned that it comes down to 3 shifts. And I call them the 3 pillars of the Nourished Woman Approach. Now, they're not theory. These are actually the exact changes that transformed my health. And I'm positive that they can do the same for you. Now, the truth is that they do work best when you use them before a crisis. It's always easier to prevent depletion than to crawl out of it. If you're pregnant and wondering, am I eating the right things? Will this hurt my baby? What if I'm not doing enough? I just want to let you know that I see you because I felt all of that too. And here's the good news. Okay, you're in the golden window. Your body is building reserves right now. And the women who start these pillars early often feel more energized in their third trimester than they did in their first. If you're postpartum, you're in the most important healing season of your life. What you do now will shape how you feel for years to come. And if you're in perimenopause or getting to that stage, these same pillars can steady your hormones. They can calm the chaos and they can help you thrive instead of just survive. Now, we've talked about the myths and the systemic gaps. I want you to also have something practical that you can do today. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Okay, let's think of this like a circle, not separate chapters. How you nourish pregnancy impacts postpartum recovery. How you nourish postpartum shapes hormone stability. And the foundation that you build there carries you into perimenopause, either steady or struggling. It's all connected. So, as you hear these pillars today, picture what they can look like in your own life. Let's start with the first one. Pillar number 1, nourish your body. And I'm talking about really nourishing it, not just feeding it, okay? Your body is always running a construction project. It's doing that while it's also trying to keep you alive. If you don't have raw materials in storage, your body will take them from you. And that's actually what happened to me in that first pregnancy. I became anemic so quickly, it was scary. If you're pregnant, a prenatal or a multivitamin, these are just like minimum wage nutrition. Okay. If you're not pregnant, it's the same. But Vitamins or supplements, they're going to help you avoid the worst, but they won't make you thrive. You need nutrient-dense foods to fill your reserves. So whether you're pregnant, postpartum, or in perimenopause, your body's demands actually skyrocket in all three of these stages, right? In pregnancy, your baby always gets first dibs on nutrients, right? In postpartum, you need those same reserves to heal and to produce milk. And in perimenopause, your shifting hormones, they lean heavily on minerals like magnesium, iron, and protein. And if you're low, you're going to feel the fatigue. You're going to feel that anxiety, that poor recovery, and your symptoms will only worsen. So start small. And here's what I recommend. Add one deeply nourishing food to your next meal. And that could be 2 boiled eggs, a handful of sardines, a mug of bone broth. These are mineral rich, protein rich foods. And every deposit of a nourishing food you make into your energy bank, it matters. So let's move on to pillar number 2, which is to nourish your hormones, because they are actually the ones that are driving the bus. Now, blood sugar is actually one of the biggest levers for hormone health. And it was a missing piece in my own recovery. After that first postpartum, I actually didn't realize how much my roller coaster blood sugars were running my hormones ragged. And this is with me being actually a diabetes educator. But once I actually stabilized those blood sugars, my energy and my mood shifted. So if you get hangry or shaky between meals, that's not just hunger, it's actually your hormones, and they're reacting as if you're in a crisis. And this, restoring your blood sugars, it matters at every stage. It matters in pregnancy because stable blood sugars keep energy steady and they support your baby's development. It matters in postpartum because stable blood sugars help calm anxiety, they help to smooth energy dips, and they also support your milk supply if you're breastfeeding. And they matter in perimenopause. Here it actually becomes critical because estrogen normally helps to keep blood sugar stable. But as it declines during this stage of life, those glucose swings hit harder. So that afternoon crash that you never used to have, that's often perimenopause meeting poor blood sugar balance. So the simple fix is this: eat protein before you eat your carbs. Take a few bites of your egg, your chicken, your beans before you dive into the pasta, before you eat that toast. This one simple shift steadies energy and mood, and it gives you and your hormones the foundation to actually stabilize. Your hormones can do their job. Now, pillar number 3, nourish your mind and choices, because knowledge is power for your health. Guidelines, as I've already mentioned, are outdated, and labels like geriatric can disempower you before you even begin. And I've experienced this. I've experienced it with this pregnancy at 44, where every appointment feels like they're trying to convince me that my body is broken. Now, if I hadn't done my own research and learned to trust myself, I might accept this story. But something that has really changed everything for me, apart from the research and learning to trust myself, is to show up to my appointments, any appointment, with questions. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to be an active participant in my care. And this truly does matter in every season. In pregnancy, it means asking more about interventions or options that you might have. In postpartum, it means speaking up, right? You need to speak up about your recovery and the support that you need. And in perimenopause, it means refusing to accept that feeling depleted or anxious is just how it is. So I've got some homework for you. It's quite simple, but I do feel that it is very important. Before your next appointment, any appointment that you might have, write down 3 questions. For example, what are my options? Why are you recommending this? What happens if we wait? That one act moves you from being a passive participant to being an active one. And that confidence actually lowers stress. It lowers your stress hormones and it actually sharpens your decisions and ensures that you walk away with clarity. Advocacy can be nourishment. It is nourishment too. So those 3 pillars are simple and powerful. For me, they turn depletion into resilience, and I do believe that they can do the same for you. Pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause are connected. And when you nourish your body, your hormones, and your choices, You thrive in every one of those seasons. I also know how easy it is to set this aside for someday, right? To maybe close this video and hope that things will work themselves out, because I've done that too. But the truth is that every season of life feels different when you start nourishing yourself now. So whether you're 28 or 48, 6 months from now, you'll either be thankful that you started nourishing yourself in those three ways today, or you might be still wishing that you had. Whether you're pregnant and wondering if you'll make it through the months ahead, or postpartum and barely keeping your head above water at 3 a.m., I know that, I've been there, right? Or if you're in perimenopause, feeling like your body has changed overnight, I just want to let you know that I see you, okay? I myself have experienced those moments, and I know how overwhelming they can feel. So here's the good news. You don't need to overhaul your whole life today. You just need one small step. The women who see the biggest transformation almost always start with one of three pillars that I've talked about. Often it's something as simple as having their protein before their carbs and then building from there. Okay? You are not behind, you are not broken, and you have so much more power than you think, even in survival mode, especially in survival mode. So let's come back to where we started. Pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause are not separate chapters. What you do in one season shapes how you'll feel in the next. The system may have told you that you're too old, that you're too high risk, or that exhaustion and hormone chaos are just part of being a woman. But I know that this is not the truth. Okay, your best health years are still ahead. And when you know how to nourish yourself properly, this is exactly what you'll experience in the future. Now, most women are left to figure this out alone, and it shouldn't be that way, really. You deserve support. You deserve clarity and the tools that meet you right where you are. So that's why I've created some clear next steps for you. If you're pregnant or postpartum, the best next step is my Nourished Beginnings workshop. Now, this can even be for you if you're planning ahead for pregnancy, right? You are going to get information that is going to help you. It's going to save you months of research and guesswork. It's the exact roadmap that I wish that I had had before getting pregnant, during pregnancy, and for my postpartum that first time. Now, if you're pregnant, especially in your second trimester, this is actually your golden window. Your body is still building reserves, but that window doesn't open forever, okay? It doesn't stay open forever. And if you're in early postpartum, you're actually in the most crucial healing phase of your life, right? What you do now is going to influence years to come. This workshop is very affordable. It's self-paced and it fills the gaps traditional care leaves out. Inside, you're going to find trimester-specific nutrition guidelines. You're going to find postpartum meal prep strategies, supplement stacks, and guidance on labs that are worth asking for. It's everything that I felt was necessary for somebody who was starting pregnancy so that they don't have to piece it on their own. They don't have to piece it together on their own. So this is step one for those of you that are pregnant or postpartum. Now, if you're not pregnant, but you want support for your hormones, whether this be after 35 or maybe you are wanting to conceive, the next best step is to actually join the wait list to work with me one-on-one. Women who reach out early, whether planning pregnancy, in early postpartum, or when they're noticing those shifts of perimenopause, they always have better outcome than those who wait until they've reached a crisis, right? So if you're in your late 30s or 40s and starting to feel off, you have that lower energy, the changing cycles, or any of the signs of hormonal imbalance, this isn't something to just brush off. This is actually your body speaking to you, asking for support before perimenopause hits hard. And depending when you're watching this, I may still be on maternity leave. I've got about 2, maybe 3 weeks until baby is born. But by joining the wait list, you'll be the first in line when my one-on-one practice reopens. This wait list is not just a list. It's actually your way of saying, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to feel amazing before I'm too depleted to take action. And no matter where you are in this journey, I just encourage you to stay close. Okay, follow me on Instagram, join my newsletter, and know that you actually don't have to navigate this alone. So don't leave this masterclass wondering what to do next. You can take one small step today. You can use the 3 pillars. You can grab that Nourished Beginnings workshop if you're pregnant or postpartum, or you can join the wait list if you're looking ahead. Stay connected because this is just the beginning of feeling strong, nourished, and fully supported in your womanhood. And here's what I want you to remember. I've said it many times already. You're not too old, you're not broken, and your best years are not behind you. They're actually ahead of you. And they're asking you to act while you still have time to build the foundation. Whether you're growing a baby, recovering from birth, or preparing for hormonal changes, your future is waiting for you to claim it. So imagine 6 months from now, feeling steady, feeling balanced, and actually enjoying the season that you're in instead of just surviving. That is what's waiting for you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you in my Instagram or on a one-on-one or simply with an email to say hello. Take care.